Good evening, everyone. You are welcome to Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night, and we appreciate everybody's attendance. And like I always say, we are going to make sure you get something for your toolbox. There was some feedback going on. That was why I was muted. So tonight we are going to look at a very interesting topic, and hopefully everybody gets something from this. And there is a lot of insights that we are going to get tonight in terms of frameworks within the states, and then also who is in charge of cybersecurity in the US in general. Right. So will kindly hang on tight and we will start time now. Kindly make sure you mute yourself, unless, of course, maybe you want to ask a question or something of that nature. And if you have any contribution, I kindly raise your virtual hand and we'll give you the floor to let us, to allow you to give us your contribution. All right. So we are starting time now. I appreciate everybody's time. Eretmis Cyber Chat begins time now. So tonight's topic, mastering the US cybersecurity frameworks in 2024. And you are welcome. This is brought to you by Eretmis Academy, a cybersecurity institute based out of New York. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm going to be your instructor as always. Former United States Army captain, a QSA and the CEO of Eretmis Inc., a PCI QSA company, and a cybersecurity consulting firm based in New York, and also the founder of Eretmis Academy, and also a former professor of University of Maryland Global Campus and Central Texas College. And Eretmis Academy, we are partners with CompTIA. So what that means is that we have 20% discount on all CompTIA vouchers, and we give that to everyone within the Eretmis family, and if you're also participating in CyberChat. So also, we keep talking about this all the time. If you have a certification already and it's time for you to renew it, for all certifications you have to renew it every 3 years. So if it's time for renewal, there are two ways to renew. You can either resit for the exam, or you can choose to use continuous educational points. They call it different CEs, CPEs, and the rest based on whoever is looking at it in terms of companies who administer these certification exams. But at the end of the day, it is something for them to show, like for you to show that you are continuously improving yourself in the cyberspace. And you attending cyber chat is counts towards your continuous educational points that you can use to renew your certification. So if it is time for you to renew your certification, kindly, you can, if you want to use this route rather than writing the exam, then you can use all cyber chats you've attended, and even the ones on YouTube, you can use that as well. Now, for Eretmis Academy and for the Eretmis family, we have a WhatsApp group. The link will be posted if you want to be part of it. That way, you don't miss anything that we are doing in the Eretmis family. And then also, WhatsApp has the WhatsApp channel. So if you don't want to join the group, but you want to follow the channel, that way, anything that we post, you also be able to get that information. And then for our YouTube, we are transmitting live on YouTube time now. We are currently at 689K on YouTube in terms of subscribers. Last week, we were still in the 600s. Our agenda is to hit 1 million subscribers by October 2024. Right. So we appreciate your supporting our YouTube channel, and our goal is to hit 1 million by the end of the year, by October 2020. Right. So we are going to move into what we are going to discuss tonight. We will first look at cyber news, and then we will look at mastering US cybersecurity frameworks. Renee, please go ahead before we go. I think Renee has a cyber news she want to share.
Yes, I do. Hello, everyone. So there was a cyber attack, they think, 911 in several states. One was Texas, and I can't remember the other three states, but they think it was cyber attack, and it also hit the police stations as well. So it's still more investigation going on, but I just thought that was very interesting because we need the emergency folks. So, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is getting a little serious.
Oh, okay. So like that affected the 911
Yes, in
outfit.
four
Wow.
states.
Wow.
Yep,
That is bad.
yep.
So like which states were those did you know
One
or
one was Texas, and I don't know if it was North Dakota or South Dakota, and I can't remember the other two states, but they also said it hit the police station there, and also the dispatch they were using. But what they did do, instead of them trying to access the station, they were using different people's cell phones to get in contact with folks to let them know that they were down and they would have to call this number. So they did find a roundabout way to get in contact if it wasn't a real serious emergency. But that still didn't help because a lot of people didn't even know, what the cell number was.
okay. But targeting emergency services that is pretty bad.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, anybody with any cyber news for the week that is worth noting, you can bring it up whilst we move into our cyber news for this week. So there's a lot going on in the cyberspace in terms of cyber news. Example, what Renee just shared with us. Now, this time around, we are looking at a casino in Australia, and what happened. So, a casino in Australia, they had a glitch in their software, and maybe likely for them, the glitch, or unlikely for them, the glitch, instead of taking money from their customers, they were rather the ones giving money out. And, customers could even request for more money than they won, or if they won anything at all, right? So this made the company lose, I think they lost almost 3 million Australian dollars within 13 days. And this glitch, they attribute this glitch to human and technological error, right? And they didn't catch this until after like 6 weeks. So they were just people were winning, you know, uh, randomly, and winning way more than they they were anticipating, but they didn't catch up. Like they didn't catch on to this until after like 13 days. So this is something that happened in Australia. Uh, Fabi, please go ahead.
Uh, my greeting to everybody on the line. This is Phoebe's husband, Dr. Adu,
Yes.
Joseph. This Happy things.
Oh, good, good.
All right, cyber news. Yeah, just to emphasize what the sister says earlier is true. I also heard the news; it was pretty bad regarding the 911 attack. Yes, that is true. And regarding the casino, there's one right here in the state that happened. And
Okay.
in this state, yes, right here in the states, what happened is the one of the IT guy received an email. The email that he received came from the higher level 3, from the engineering department, asking him to run some program. Unfortunately for the IT guy, he didn't check the domain properly. Instead of saying arithmetic, the one E, it was double E. So that alone was a red flag for the guy to know that no, this is not from the right company that he's working for. But he didn't read it. It's from it's from X company, which is our own company, but it was fraud. He just opened up a port, and guys were able to hack into the system and download so many people's privilege and information. By the time they notice, it was a little bit late. So cautious. If you get an email, before you open them, make sure it's coming from the right source. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that contribution. So we will move on to the next news. So guess what this one is? What has the iClinic got to do with ChatGPT? Now we are going to find out. So ChatGPT 4, the version 4, is in the news. And this time, what did it do? There was a study that was conducted by Cambridge University researchers. And what they came up with was this. So doctors who were examining, I think they examined almost 87 patients, and the diagnosis and the advice on treatment that they gave, they made, or like they kind of made ChatGPT also do the same thing. And ChatGPT was more accurate in assessing the eye problems of these patients than the doctors, right? And the doctors, they range from doctors who were in training, junior doctors, and others who were, trainees, and some experts were also in the list of doctors. And ChatGPT was kind of beat them to it, maybe by a little slide, like by some margin, not that huge, but still, ChatGPT was able to, give a better diagnosis and advice on treatment. And how would we know that ChatGPT's diagnosis was better than what the doctors gave? Right? It is going to still be the same experts in this field who are going to compare the two diagnoses and also advise on treatment and say, okay, we think ChatGPT did better, right? So ChatGPT cannot grade itself. The researchers were able to conclude that it gave more, it did a better job than the doctors, right? So now AI is gradually getting to a point where it will be able to help us do maybe triage and some of these stuff at the hospital. But this doesn't mean ChatGPT is going to replace any doctor. It cannot, right? Doctors will rather use it to be able to give better diagnosis and advice on treatment, right? Anybody also heard anything about ChatGPT, or did anybody chance on this? And if you have any inputs on this, at least one or two folks, and then we'll move on to tonight's topic. So kindly raise your virtual hand if you have any comments on ChatGPT becoming your new eye doctor. So we jump into tonight. Now, who is in charge of cybersecurity in the US? In terms of agencies, who is in charge of cybersecurity in the US? Jamal, please go ahead. And I'm assuming you wanted to address ChatGPT.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Adu. Hope you're well.
Yes.
I just had a question. Who is responsible for monitoring who's putting all of the information into the AI? Because,
Good question.
I mean, it seems like it should be spread out evenly to make sure everyone is putting in information fairly. So who is monitoring who's doing the inputting on the AI on these broad topics?
Yes, great question. So anybody has any take on this before I give my take?
Dr.
Yes, go ahead, Dion.
Hi, yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I just took an AI class, and basically it was the class was about diversity in AI. Because usually the people that are in tech are maybe you would say let's just say mid 40s or 50s and a white Caucasian male. So his entries are going to reflect him and the way he grew up, everything, his life, so his experiences. So there's always somebody that's programming, say these computers or websites when you're typing something in and the computer is answering you. It's always somebody. So basically, I'm saying it's regular people that's entering the information, and they were having a conversation. Our class was having a conversation about diversity, so that all races can be what word am I looking for? Represented. And
Fairly represented.
Yeah, represented. Effectively. So yeah, that's basically what I learned in the class. So I
Okay.
hope that helped out a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay, so for also to add to the question that Jamal was asking, so with all these
To make sure it's fair.
yeah, to make sure like the information that they give to this AI, and then also on the backside, like the machine learning aspect of it, the owners of the AI feeds it with that information. There was in the news a while ago, some cyber chats ago, we were discussing how Game of Thrones took OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT, to court, and then I think some other companies and writers also took them to court because they were using their information to train their AI without the right permissions, right? So all that information, they are just gathering that information, some online, some from like the medical sources and others. That is how they are feeding this information to their systems, and also they are using that to train the algorithm that runs the AI to be able to actually do some of these things like diagnosing patients based on maybe a picture that you're going to take and input, say, hey, I have maybe this brand, what should I do about it, right? And it will be able to give you something. Now, as of now, still ChatGPT, it is still in the early stages, so they will tell you that whatever information you are getting, it is not 100% accurate, right? So still kind of, I mean, when it started almost, 2 years ago, thereabout, a year ago, 2 years ago, there was like, I tried it out a couple of times. There was some information that it was given that was really not accurate, right? I'll just put it in just to see, right? But now it is getting better and better. So that all that information, hopefully this helps, Jamal. They are the ones inputting that information. And now for ChatGPT, they have an online version. First, it wasn't like live, so you couldn't, all the information was just what they were putting into it. And it could only reference things as far back as 2020, 2021, right? But now they have an online version, like a web version, where it can really draw information from the web and, give you some response, right? So they are getting there gradually, and some other AIs are also following the same trend, right? So hopefully that helps. If anybody else has any inputs that they want to add to this, they are more than welcome. All right. So my next question is, who is in charge of cybersecurity in the US? Which agencies are in charge of cybersecurity, or which agency is in charge of cybersecurity in the US?
Homeland Security.
Okay, yeah, Homeland Security. Anybody else has anything else to add or know of any other agency?
DOD.
Or DOD, and Nicholas also put in here CISA. So yes, DOD, yes. Thomas, please go ahead.
Department of Commerce.
Yes, Department of Commerce, right. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes. I don't know how to raise my hand yet. This is Bruce from Bermuda. I'd like to say NSA.
Yes, NSA, yes. Anybody else? I think like Thomas is coming in and out, or if you spoke already.
I'm not sure, but would the CIA or FBI have a hand in it? Because they have to keep a close eye on everything.
Of course, they're also in there. So let's find out who really is in charge of cybersecurity in the US. So who is in charge? The cybersecurity, in the United States, there is no one single agency that can monitor or manage it all. So different agencies have different hands in it based on what the agency does. So everybody is mentioning like the agencies that we would think will be the normal corporates, FBI, CIA, and the rest, NSA, right? But what about like the courts? Would the judiciary also have any hand in this? Of course, they have something in there somewhere. So there are a lot of agencies, and they all, they collaborate their efforts together to help really solidify their efforts to help protect the United States and companies and people and everybody within the US space. And even it goes beyond the US, right? Allied forces are also benefiting from this. And then also the corporate side also borrowing from everything else that is coming out of all the efforts of these agencies, right? So we are going to look at some of the agencies that are in charge of cybersecurity in the US. So CISA, I think Nicholas mentioned CISA. So CISA, not the certificate, like not the certification from ISACA, but CISA, the organization, the federal organization. So CISA is Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and it is part of the Department of Homeland Security, meaning that what Homeland Security is also part of is like a bigger agency that oversees cybersecurity, right? And the main goal for CISA is to help protect critical infrastructure from cyber attacks. Now, the next question is, what are critical infrastructures? Kindly raise your virtual hand if you know of any of the critical infrastructures in the US or in any country. What will be considered for a country? What will be a critical infrastructure? Go ahead, Dion.
Electrical grid.
Yes. Good luck. Please go ahead.
The oil sector or the oil assets. Yeah.
Yes, that is right. Sale, please go ahead. Oh, you are muted if you're trying to speak.
I would say master systems.
Master systems, like what systems specifically?
NASA, they said like
NASA, okay, thank you. Yeah, of course, NASA systems. Thank you. I
Yes, sir.
had master, right.
I'm saying
So,
the health system, the health sector, rather.
yes, health sector. Sharon also has in here water supply, which is yes, health industry, health. Nikki, internet, transportation, yes. Sharon, transportation, very well, yes. So transportation also play a critical role in. And then what else? I think there are some more hands raised.
Lighthouse.
Yes.
And threats,
Renee, please go ahead.
nuclear threats.
Yes, nuclear
That's
also
big.
is part of the critical infrastructure. And I think Michael spoke already.
I was about to say like nuclear plants.
Okay. Yes, that also forms part of the critical infrastructure. Now, anybody else has anything else outside what everybody, what we've all talked about now in terms of critical infrastructure. Now, yes, go ahead, George.
I was saying, apart from that, do we say group them like SCADA systems, or they could be public or private?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And maybe one or two people can give their take. Why are these critical? Do we, consider these to be critical? Bartholomew, please go ahead.
Can we consider the White House as a critical infrastructure?
Well, so everything that they do there will also be classified under critical infrastructure, yes. If the White House is breached, man, the whole country is screwed, right? So, yes, critical infrastructure is everything that we've mentioned. So, anything that in terms of IT infrastructure or the IT aspect of that agency or that department, which will cause a grave impact to the country if it is breached, is considered critical infrastructure. So your transportation, health, your electrical grid, water supply, and all that. So all of those, if attackers are able to get their hands on it, there will be problems. Anything that is being used for like military purposes, if attackers get their hand on it, oil and gas side of the country, also all of those play a critical role in what we do. So if it is impacted, then there's going to be a grave impact to the country, right? Same thing within organizations, they are critical systems and they are critical infrastructures within your organization as well, right? But as we are looking at it from a country perspective, the principle still remains the same. Anything that will have a huge impact if it is breached or if attackers are able to get their hands on it, that is what we classify as critical within the organization. So the next organization we are looking at that also has a part or a hand in cybersecurity is National Security Agency, that is NSA. And for NSA, they also fall under Department of Defense, and their focus is on information security and signal intelligence, right? And then we have FBI, and for FBI, they handle cybercrime investigations, through its division and also through the different police, local police and state police outlets that they also kind of work hand in hand with, right? So the FBI also keeps track of the statistics for cybercrime. And I know during COVID time, FBI, one of their statistics or like one of their papers was speaking to the fact that cybercrime increased almost like 300% during the COVID time, right? So from 2020 all the way to 2021, 2022, cybercrime really went up by 300%, right? Because everybody's at home. So all criminals are like, yeah, you know what? We're also everybody's working online. So they were also working online. Pretty much that was what they were doing, right? And then we have Department of Homeland Security. Obviously, Department of Homeland Security cannot be left out in this because they are in charge of managing and controlling borders and making sure the homeland is kept safe. So beyond CISA, DHS overseeing and coordinating all other aspects of cybersecurity, the Homeland Department of Homeland Security also ensures that national cybersecurity policy and strategy are followed, and it goes beyond even the United States when it comes to diplomatic missions and also how we relate to allies and countries outside the United States. They also play a key role in there. And we have the U.S. Cyber Command. So the U.S. Cyber Command is a central operation entity for defense against cyber threats and is part of the Department of Defense. So the Army has a Cyber Command, like a unit specifically for cybersecurity. Navy, Air Force, everybody else, they all have units now. Kindly make sure you are unmuting yourself. And then we have Office of Management and Budget. Now, what has this office got to do? Management and budget, what do they really have to do with cybersecurity? So they oversee the implementation and then also compliance of cybersecurity policies across federal agencies. So they are the ones who are cracking the whip on federal agencies to make sure they are staying on the right side of security. And then we have Department of Defense, that under which everybody in terms of military falls under. So Department of Defense, it is their duty to protect military networks, conduct cyber operations, and support national cyber defense efforts. So they work hand in hand with everybody else also as well. And the Department of Energy. So we talked about critical infrastructures, energy, or anything we do electricity-wise being part of critical infrastructures. So the department that is in charge of energy, they also play a key role in this as well. And their focus is on securing the national grid or national energy infrastructure, including the power grid and beyond the power grid as well, right? And we have DOJ. So Department of Justice, you might think for them is just, prosecuting people for crime and the law, but we cannot do cybersecurity without the law, right? Now, every country, when we are looking at cybersecurity from the perspective of a country, every country, your cybersecurity strategy starts with enacting laws on cybersecurity for the country. And reason being that if there are no laws and I hack into a company's network, I steal their data, and they take me to court, and I can boldly say it's me. They take me to court. What law are they going to use to, punish me in any shape or form? If there is really no law, they cannot use the law of like they cannot use a typical law or the normal usual, hey, he stole from me, or he broke into my house, he broke into my apartment. It is not the same if I break into your network logically, right? So any judge will throw that out of court because they are two separate things. We cannot use this to also enforce this. So for the United States and all other countries who are taking security seriously, they have enacted a lot of laws, because before those laws were passed, a lot of cybercrime was going unpunished. Because if you take it to court, the court will let them walk, because there is really no law that is going to, that they are going to go by to help in terms of even sentencing. How many years or how many weeks? What can they really do about that? So the Department of Justice plays a critical role. And then with that, also the lawmakers, Congress, and the Senate, they also play a key role, because every law that is being passed in the cyberspace, they are the ones who will sit on this and actually pass it, right? So Department of Justice, they enforce laws related to cybercrime and then also national security threats through divisions such as the computer crime and intellectual property sessions. And then we have NIST. So NIST is part of the Department of Commerce. I think somebody mentioned Department of Commerce. So Department of Commerce also manages a big chunk of all the cybersecurity things that we do in the US, right? So NIST falls directly under Department of Commerce, and NIST develops standards and frameworks. And we all know, everybody on here knows about NIST. We've done a couple of sessions about NIST on Cyber Chat. And then we have Office of the Director of National Intelligence, right? They also coordinate intelligence activities as it relates to cyber threats, and then also national security as well. So you can see there are a lot of departments, who are helping to manage security within the states. So Department of State manages international cybersecurity policies and initiatives. And also when it comes to global cyber diplomatic efforts, the Department of State runs this also as well. And then the Department of Treasury. So also, what has the Department of Treasury got to do with cybersecurity? They address cybersecurity in the financial sector as well, and they work on protecting economic infrastructure. So when we talk about critical infrastructure, the economic part of it also plays a key role, right, from cyber threats. And then IRS, What are they also doing on this list? So IRS also, they have that obligation to protect sensitive taxpayers' data and then also combat related cybercrime, right? So when it comes to cybercrime, nobody is off the table. Like nobody is off the table, regardless of whether you are working in the postal service or wherever you are. Attackers can find you at any point in time, and everybody plays a key role in defending against cyber threats. And we have FCC, so Federal Communication Commission. They regulate communication infrastructures, and also they ensure the security and the reliability of broadband and other communication systems that we have in the US. Now, the Department of Secret Service or the United States Secret Service, they also, just like the FBI, they play a key role in this house also as well. So from investigating financial cyber crimes and cyber fraud and other electronic crimes, aside everything else that they are doing, they also play a key role here. And then the General Services Administration, GISA or GSA, they support other federal agencies in procuring cybersecurity products and services. So GISA, anybody who has some dealings with government contracting, you know GISA, right? They play a key role in that. And the postal services, what are they also doing on this list? So the USPS, they manage cybersecurity as it relates to communication and logistics. So sending letters back and forth, they play a key role in helping everybody get their package, but then also that plays a key role in cybercrime, right? A lot in cybercrime. So they also have that obligation and they help manage cybercrime on those areas as well. Now, with that, we are going to move into the actual frameworks that we've come up with. But before then, we will look at the history of US cyber frameworks. But before we do, we just want everybody on here to know, if you don't know already, if you want to get into cybersecurity, you want to switch careers into cybersecurity, our Eretmis Academy Cybersecurity entry-level course is the best option for you. And most of the times people will think, but entry level, I have some background already. I've done this course and that course. Don't get carried away by the entry level name, right? After you've done with this program, you are way more than an entry level professional in the cyberspace, right? So this program comes with 2 months of GRC internship and the training itself. So you go through the training and then the internship. And you don't need any prior IT background or cybersecurity background. There's no coding involved. You don't need a degree. And then also we do help you with job placement assistance. And there's also hands-on training where you get to practice with a lot of tools within the cyberspace, and you also get one-on-one mentorship, right? And with that, we move into our PCI class also as well. So for our PCI class, we hold live sessions. Also for our entry level, we do have live sessions for the internship also as well. But for PCI, we have live sessions where you go through the live session, and then once you're done, you move into internship also as well, where we also hold live sessions for that also as well. So for if you are starting off in cybersecurity, we don't encourage you to get into the PCI or payment security and compliance space. Start with the entry level first. Because the PCI space is a specialized area in cybersecurity. So you should have some background, IT background, or some cybersecurity background, coming into it. So if you're also interested in the PCI space, our next cohort will be starting pretty soon. So get onto that also as well. And then if you have some certifications, you've gone through some cybersecurity training elsewhere, but you really don't feel like you will be able to do the job, right? If you are given what I ask most people is, if you are given the opportunity today, be honest with yourself. Can you really do the job, right? If there is no interview, there is nothing, they are like, hey, John, we like you so much. Come and work for us, 150K starting tomorrow. Will you be able to do the job? Now, some people have the notion of they will train you on the job. nobody is going to pay you $100K or more to babysit you. They are going to rent you to the tools they use and stuff like that. Once they're done, that's it. You're on your own. They expect you to hit the ground running. And our cybersecurity GRC internship and workshop will help you to do that, because you're actually going to work on real world cybersecurity projects. And that is going to be will be the beginning of your working experience in cybersecurity. And we work on 10 major projects. So there's really nothing that they can pull on you that you cannot really handle, right? So 10 major projects, from conducting audits, doing third-party assessment, risk assessment, incident response, all the way to designing cybersecurity awareness training for your company, and the list goes on. So if you have some certification, you have some training, but now you think you are really lacking the actual doing of the job and having that experience, and then also during interviews you have nothing to talk about in terms of projects you've worked on, then this is going to be the right option for you. So the next cohort is starting on the 18th of May. Try and get on this one. It is really going to be a game changer for you. So with this, we are going to jump into the history of cybersecurity frameworks in the US. So we've looked at who is in charge of cybersecurity in the US, and there's a whole list of, or a whole catalog of agencies that are playing a key role in this. Now, in the US, like I said earlier on, for every country, for you to really if you want to take security seriously, or you want to get ahead in cybersecurity, it starts with enacting policies, enacting laws and regulations to be able to move your cybersecurity agenda forward. Same way in a company, cybersecurity starts with governance. And in a country, cybersecurity also starts with governance, right? With no direction, no policies, nothing, everything else that you are doing is really meaningless, because it's not backed by anything, and you don't really have, it's like, yes, sailing your ship on the seas, and you are just, going with the wind. You don't really have any particular destination that you are getting to, right? In the US, they are at the forefront when it comes to policies and standards for cybersecurity. And we are going to look at the history of US cybersecurity frameworks. So we are going to look at like the hierarchy, not like timeline, not hierarchy, timeline, in terms of when we started working on these policies and the different governments that have taken the initiative to make sure we are at where we are now, right? So the cybersecurity frameworks, US cybersecurity frameworks, its journey through the different, updates and the different frameworks that we've had so far, is partly on, how attackers are behaving, and how also technology is advancing, and the threat landscape. All that has influenced how we've come so far in terms of the frameworks that we have. Now we are going to start with a timeline, right? So with a timeline from early 90s to late 90s to early 2000s, we are going to look at what happened in the cyberspace. So we had some presidential decision directives. That is the PDD 63. That is in 1997. It was issued by President Clinton. And this directive was the first to recognize the importance of protecting critical infrastructure. That led to the formation of a lot of these agencies that we saw, right? So President Clinton came up with this directive, and that informed most of the things that we do in cybersecurity today in terms of forming some of these agencies. And in 2002, that is where we came up with, or the country came up with, FISMA, right? So Federal Information Security Management Act, that is an act, it was passed by the Senate and Congress. And FISMA, the goal was to help federal agencies to develop and document and implement a program that was going to help them ensure that cybersecurity was being well followed, best cybersecurity practices were being followed, and then was also being implemented, and then also to ensure that all federal agencies, they were all on the same page when it came to cybersecurity, right? So there have been a couple of improvements on FESMA, but this is where it started. Now, from FESMA, where did we go from there? So from the 2010s, that is where we established most of these frameworks, and then also NIST started, playing a very key role in everything that we do in the cyberspace and all the frameworks and all the hard work that NIST has been putting in to ensure that we have all these frameworks. So in 2013, an executive order that was issued by President Barack Obama at that time, focusing on improving critical infrastructure, improving critical infrastructure in terms of cybersecurity. That was what really informed the framework, the NIST cybersecurity framework, right? So this directive was to help, or like it was to promote the development of a technology neutral, voluntary framework, right? That will help not just the federal agencies, but also corporate agencies in terms of how they identify, assess, and manage cyber risks, right? And this led to the creation of the NIST cybersecurity framework. And now there's a version 2.0 of NIST cybersecurity framework that we will look at some cyber charts down the line. Now, still in the 2010s, 2014, there was the NIST cybersecurity framework. It was officially released in 2014. And this framework has really been a game changer for the whole entire cybersecurity industry around the globe, not just in the US, right? Everybody uses this. All companies who want to build a good cybersecurity program from scratch, this is one of the best frameworks that you can use to do that, right? And it provides a set of best practices and industry standards to help organizations manage their cybersecurity risks, right? And if you are not familiar with the NIST cybersecurity framework, and if you want to really see it being implemented and how you really go about using it in a company, then join our cybersecurity GRC internship. One of the frameworks that we use to do audits is the NIST cybersecurity framework, right? So who really helped with this? Although it was NIST who created it, NIST always worked with industry players. So be it on the government side, on the corporate side, and also with academia, they come together and they come up with these best practices that everybody else will also adapt and use in the cybersecurity space. Now, 2018 is when Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act was also enacted. Kindly mute yourself. All right, so we have the CISA, the CISA Act, if you want to call it that way. So this act established the CISA agency, and then also within the Department of Homeland Security. And the main goal was to focus on critical infrastructure for the United States, how to protect critical infrastructure for the United States, and also to make the critical infrastructure resilient to cyber attacks, right? So this act also kind of has a framework twist to it. We will look at that as we are moving on, right? And then also within 2010 to 20, for the timeline within 2010 to 2020 is what we are looking at now. So we also have the RMF from NIST also, obviously. RMF is one of the frameworks that federal agencies will have to use in terms of managing their risks or their cyber risks, and they have no other option but to use RMF. For corporate side, they can choose to adopt RMF and some aspects of it, it is not really mandated for them to use it. But for all federal agencies, you have to make sure you're in compliance with RMF, right? And it's a really good framework that helps government agencies to really stay on the right side of security. And with this, we are going to look at more timelines. Still within the 2010s and 2020, we also we came up with the CMMC. So introduced by the Department of Defense in 2019, the CMMC was developed to enhance the protection of controlled, unclassified information within the supply chain, right? So CMMC, they kept. I remember when it came up, there were talks about maybe within, I think it was within 2 years, all contractors will have to stay in compliance with CMMC, and then they moved it to 5 years from when it was officially enacted, and then they kept going back and forth on it. But now I think most companies will who are working in the federal space in terms of contracts, they also have to now they have to stay in compliance with this as well. But I don't think it's really like a hard requirement as of yet. It's time to be corrected, but they have to stay in compliance with this. If you start the process early, the better it is going to be for you, because when it becomes a hard requirement, you should already have everything that it takes to stay in compliance with CMMC. So CMMC, also one of the frameworks out there. Now we are looking at, so for NIST has more than just the RMF and the cybersecurity framework. There is more to NIST. So NIST has a whole catalog. We've done a session on NIST previously. NIST has like a whole session. When it comes to frameworks, there is a lot. Even for RICS, it has more than just 800-37, 800-39, 800-30, and the rest. They all contribute to the RICS assessment or RICS management aspect of the federal space, right? So, and then also lastly, we will look at some of the recent updates and revisions. So there's been a lot of executive orders in there, and then also presidential policy directives. In 2013, there was one on critical infrastructure security and resilience. So 2013, I think this was President Obama, right? Under President Obama, and the focus was to help fortify security and resilience of critical infrastructure against physical and cyber threats. And then also 2016, there was one on cyber incident coordination. So this also established principles for federal response to significant cyber incidents. So this kind of laid the framework for national cyber incident response, right? So with this, we are also going to look at the last one. So currently, President Trump, and President Biden, they've also come up with some presidential directives that has also helped to strengthen the cyberspace in the US as well. So we can go into, like the different directives that they came up with, but I think generally they've all contributed to the development of all these frameworks and agencies that we have. So now we are going to look at the cybersecurity, US cybersecurity frameworks. We will look at a good chunk, I think maybe probably if we miss any one, you can kindly let us know. Now for NIST, there is a whole list of, NIST frameworks. So we are just going to look at the NIST RMF and the NIST cybersecurity framework. Everything else, NIST, we know they are there. We can't talk about all of it for this session. So we are going to look at the NIST cybersecurity framework as the first cybersecurity, US cybersecurity framework. The purpose of the NIST cybersecurity framework is to create the baseline not for governance term baseline, but for general baseline like we all know it, or to create a backbone for like the security program for a country or for a company, right? So the goal is to help or give help organizations to be able to detect, prevent, respond to cyber threats and cyber attacks, on different platforms, on different systems. And this framework is widely used around the world, not just in the United States. So cybersecurity NIST cybersecurity framework, they have a new version now. 2.0 came up recently, and is a better improvement on the old version that was 1.0. And then we move into FESMA. So FESMA also one of the NIST frameworks. And FESMA, the purpose of FESMA is to help federal agencies to develop and document and also implement information security programs across board, right? And also to ensure that they are all on the same page to help protect government information, operations, and assets against all forms of cyber threats. So FESMA, like we saw, was enacted somewhere 2013, if I recall correctly. And there's been improvements on FESMA up to this point. And then we'll look at RMF, also from NIST. So NIST pretty much almost enacted or came up with most of the frameworks in the government side for the US. And for RMF, the purpose is also to come up with, one formula, if you want to look at it that way, for all federal agencies to be able to conduct risk assessment. So under the broader umbrella of risk management, we also will look at supply chain risk management as well, and also third-party risk management as well for the government side. So RMF, it really, all federal agencies are binded by RMF. They have to follow RMF, and then FESMA. But really on the corporate side, you don't really have to. Nothing is, forcing them, or it is not mandated for them to follow, but they can always borrow from it. And it's a good framework for you to borrow a lot of some of the best practices from. And then we have CMMC, like we looked at. The purpose is to ensure that defense contractors, so everybody working in the contracting space for the federal, for the most part, not just defense, they have, so this framework helps us to ensure that they are doing everything right when it comes to security, right? So they have all the safeguards in place to protect sensitive data that they are going to come in contact with during the line of their contract. And then we have the Homeland Security Presidential Directive 12. That is the HSPD 12. Now, this also kind of is a framework. It establishes the policy for common identification standards for federal employees, and then also contractors, to enhance security, and then also to reduce identity fraud, right? So this is not one of the frameworks that you are going to easily. This is more of, I was going to say standard, but I wouldn't say standard. Let's just keep it a directive, because then we'll be, missing or bunching all these terminologies together. Because when it comes to governance, what we are doing is governance, right? It falls under governance in security. When it comes to governance, you have to choose your words carefully. So I cannot say this is a baseline, or I cannot call a framework a guideline, because they all mean different documents, right? And they are not the same. Maybe probably for the principle behind where the guideline or a baseline is, but for the actual word and the governance, it means something else. So I'm choosing my words carefully. Now, the next one we are looking at is information security continuous monitoring. So this is also mandated by FESMA, the ISCM. The goal is to ensure that we are continuously staying in compliance, and we are continuously keeping our fingers on the security pulse, right? So we don't overlook, or we are not going to sleep on security, because if you do, then security is also going to go to sleep on you, right? So this helps us to continuously monitor all our infrastructure to make sure that, we are identifying vulnerabilities, we are putting in place mitigation strategies, and we are staying on the right side of security. Now, the next one that we are looking at is FedRAMP. And anybody who work in the federal space, you might probably have encountered FedRAMP. So FedRAMP was also developed to help protect or to help give us a standardized approach to security assessment and authorization. FedRAMP really, the main focus is on identity and access management, right? So authorization, authenticating, and accounting, and anything identity and access management. And then also it helps us to continuously monitor all services still in the line of identity and access management, right? So with that, we are going to look at the next one, which is HIPAA. So we've looked at HIPAA, I think 4 or 5 cyber chats ago. HIPAA is also a government or a US framework, and the purpose is to help protect health information of all citizens within the United States. Now, HIPAA, some other countries or some other, areas of the world, they are adopting some of the best practices in HIPAA, but they don't really have to follow it because they are not bound to follow it. But HIPAA is mandated by law in the US for all health players or companies within the health space to follow. They have to stay in compliance with HIPAA, right? So HIPAA, the main focus is how to protect health information of patients or everybody, because everybody is a patient at one point in time. Everybody has been to the hospital at one point in time. And then we have the GLBA also an act and a framework, and the purpose is to focus on the financial institutions to make sure they are doing everything right financially, but then most importantly for us as security folks, how do they handle financial data, right? So the protection of sensitive financial data or sensitive data and information privacy is the main focus of GLBA. Now we are looking at critical infrastructure protection standards. So this is a standard, a framework or a standard that was developed by the North America Electric Reliability Corporation, NEC. So this framework, a little backstory, Eretmis, we've used this framework in the past to do kind of, we were bidding for a project, one contract, and they required, what we were going to do was to use this framework to conduct an assessment, right? So that was how we were able to get into, we don't normally work in the electric space, but because of that, we were able to get into the electric space for a little bit. And this framework is very interesting because unlike all other framework or most of the frameworks that it doesn't come with just one big document with everything on it, right? They have I think it's 1 up to 15 or 12. And each of these, frameworks or mini frameworks, they all focus on different aspects of security, right? And it's pretty interesting. So you can take a look at it. I think last time I checked, they were coming up with a new version. And this only pertains to the electric part of the house. So all state and local state agencies, federal agencies that do anything with electricity. So all the electric companies, they have to stay in compliance with this one, right? So if you want to work in the electric space or you are looking to get a job in that space, then you have to familiarize yourself with this framework, right? And then we have the CISA framework. So CISA framework, or the CISA, the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act, not the organization or the certification CISA, but the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act framework. And this framework, the main goal is in the name, right? Information sharing. So it regulates how we share information between the private side and the public side, right? So how the government and the private side, that is like the corporate side, how they share information to collectively help both sides, and eventually, or mainly the country. If the country is safe, then all companies within the country are also going to be safe, right? So, if you didn't know about the CISA framework, now you do. And then we are looking at the trusted internet connections. So TIC is also a framework that helps with communication, right? So it helps to enhance network security across federal government by ensuring that, and also by consolidating all external network connections and making sure that our communications are not intercepted by man in the middle or by any threat actors in that space. So this is the framework that helps us to have better internet connection with no issues in terms of attackers being able to intercept what we are doing online. And then I think the last framework that we will look at is FEPA. Now, FEPA was enacted in, okay, I'm just going to leave this out. Who can maybe give a wild guess if you're familiar with FEPA? Or, I mean, somebody probably will start Googling it now. Now, FEPA focuses predominantly on educational information, so student information, right? Now, when was FEPA enacted? Can anybody speak to this? No, you can Google it. You don't have to. Anybody can Google it, and whoever Googles it first, you can raise your virtual hand and let me know. Anybody? FEPA. And why am I interested in when FEPA was enacted? Tyson, please go ahead. Yeah, kindly go ahead, Tyson. You are muted if probably you're still trying to speak. Well, anybody else? Let's look in the chat. Okay, Tyson said 1996. Anybody else was able to find something else aside 1996? Any teachers in the room? Whichever, please go ahead. So Josephine has something in the chat.
1974.
Yep. So where was cybersecurity in 1974? That was why I paused on this and I wanted to ask when this was enacted. FEPA was enacted in 1974. I don't think the word cybersecurity was even coined by them. Right? So how is a 1974 act now a cybersecurity act? Any takers on this one? I think like the answer is down here, but I'm not going to take that one. So you probably have to break this in your own words. Okay, data went digital. Okay, yeah, Daniels, yes, we will take that. Data went digital, so now FEPA also went digital. Now FEPA, when it was enacted, the goal was to protect student educational information, right? So I can't go to Daniel's school and say, hey, I want to see his grades. And they're like, okay, there you go. Right. So, and I can't go to anybody's school and say, I want to see the grades of this person. Even if I'm the employer of that person, I cannot just go to their school and say, I just need the information and they give it to me. Right. I have to have the consent of whoever that information is for in a written form with them signed and everything else that is needed before they will give me that information if I need it for anything, right? Whether professional or school. So that was the main idea behind it. So it was focusing on the privacy of students, like data privacy of student information, right? And now with everything going on now, we came into the space of information security assurance, information security, and all that. Now, cybersecurity. FEPA still kind of is pushing towards the same agenda, right? Data privacy. So whether we are keeping it in a drawer or we are keeping it online, data privacy is still, in terms of student data, also, we are still pushing the same agenda, right? Whichever, please go ahead. You are muted if you're trying to speak. All right, so I'm going to continue with this. And also an added on for students who are below 18, their parents are the ones who are giving the rights over their information. So if you need information, educational records or information about students who are under 18, their parents, you have to deal with their parents. If they're over 18 or they are attending school beyond high school, so if probably they are 15 and they are pretty smart, they are in college already, then they can kind of manage their own information, but not really because you're still a kid, sort of. So your parents, but at that point, according to FEPA, you are old enough to manage your own educational records, right? So now all schools within the United States, they have to stay in compliance with FEPA, right? And there is some added-ons in terms of the cybersecurity side. So like the line that we have here, it is not strictly a cybersecurity framework, but still it helps with security and privacy of student educational records, right? And it's closely tied into the data protection side of educational records. So that is FEPA. So if you are not familiar with FEPA, now you are familiar with FEPA, right? And then I think the last one we will look at is FIPS. So FIPS also developed by NIST for the use in computer systems by non-military government agencies and government contractors. So all contractors, they also have to stay in compliance with FIPS. Now, the MMC that we saw, MMC is kind of like if you are in compliance with it, they give you a certificate. So it's kind of MMC certificate. Now for FEPA, it also comes with different, like we have like different numbering system or like different frameworks with sub-frameworks within the FIPS standard. So I think the commonly used one is 140, if I recall correctly, but it just is mainly to guide contracting government contractors, and then also any non-military government agencies. So military, like military agencies, don't necessarily have to stay in compliance with this, but non-military agencies and then also government contractors were the folks who were in mind when this was created, right? So Federal Information Processing Standard, it helps with how we keep and manage information that we come in contact with in terms of contractors and in terms of other agencies who are working in the government space. Now, with that, we are going to wrap up. And like I said earlier on, we have our cyber WhatsApp group. So if you're interested in our WhatsApp group, kindly stay on. We are going to post the link for you to join, and then also for our YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe if you've not already done so. Cyber Chat is being transmitted live on YouTube, and we also post the recording on there as well. And then for anyone who is interested in getting to the cybersecurity space, our cybersecurity entry level is the way to go. By the time you are done with entry level and the internship, you'll be a full-blown cybersecurity professional at the intermediate level, and we can assure you that. And then also for our new PCI class starting later this month. You can also jump into this if you already have some background in cybersecurity or in IT. And we take you through a 2-week cybersecurity crash course because we take security seriously. PCI is being taught in cybersecurity. So we make sure we level the even playing field for everyone before we jump into PCI itself. And for this new class, we are going through everything PCI version 4, right? For the old classes, we've done our version 4 makeup class already. So if you missed it, and if you're already in any of those classes, you can kindly check your classroom area. We've posted all the recordings for the makeup classes as well. So you can check that out. Now for our internship, GRC internship, we do more than GRC, but it's 80% thereabout GRC focused. We help you to really gain the real world cybersecurity experience that you need to be able to work in most of the cybersecurity roles or all the cybersecurity roles in the blue side of the house, right? In cybersecurity, we have the blue side and the red side. We are training you specifically for the blue side, not the red side, right? So with that, we are going to move into questions, and we are wrapping up for tonight. So I think there were some hands raised already. Stephen, please go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Edu. I just wanted to add that on the section that you were talking about, the various bodies that work in cybersecurity, you mentioned, I think, DoD. For the National Defense Authorization for this year, they have introduced a new position, which is the Undersecretary in charge of cybersecurity. And the idea is for that person to coordinate everything related to cybersecurity in DoD. And the new person is one guy called Mike Solmayer. So that's just one of the latest things that I came across last week.
Okay, great. And if you have any other input like that, like Stevens, kindly you can add it to the discussion. And if there is a framework that we missed, you can also bring it up, right?
Okay, thank you.
Leonard, please go ahead.
Yes, hi, Dr. Adu. So I went through the PCI DSS class last year, and I've been on a few interviews. I even made it to the 3rd round for my last interview. But you mentioned about the GRC course. Is it something that I should pursue now, or do I have enough experience to actually work in the industry? Because I haven't had a lot of hands-on with working with cyber tools, but I am pretty much aware of, how they work and whatnot.
Okay, so we can talk offline. Now, let me just break down the GRC internship, right? So the GRC internship, we work on a lot of stuff, right? So with PCI, as a whole country on its own, there is a lot that goes into PCI also. But outside PCI, like in general cybersecurity, right, there is a lot also as well. So in general cybersecurity, for the GRC internship, we do audits. So we do audits using ISO 27701, NIST cybersecurity framework, and CIS controls, right? Now, after that, we do gap analysis, and you're able to follow all this because you've done PCI. You know how to do internal audits and external audits. You know how to do gap analysis, right? And then we move into like governance, strictly governance, working on policies, developing policies and standards, policies, standards, and SOPs for organizations. So, and also doing a review on them, right? In PCI, we talked about doing review and stuff, but it is really not going to be your job doing the policies and doing reviews. I mean, you are going to do the review to make sure they've updated it. But here you're actually doing policies from scratch, right? Doing reviews on policies. And then we move into risk assessment. You're actually going to assess an organization from scratch. So use your risk register, using your quantitative, qualitative approaches to do the assessment. And then we move into third-party risk management, right? Where you're also going to do an assessment on 2 companies to bring out the one that is best in terms of security posture that your company will want to work with, right? So you are you are going to be afforded all the documents that you are going to have if we are working anywhere else doing third party. All the documents you're going to have, like their PCI, ROC, and their AOC, their SOC 2 report, and that whole list, right? And their policies and all that. Now we move into incident response. We work on incident response projects where you and your team be working as an incident response team. You'll be doing tabletop exercises and the rest. We move on into awareness training, where you are going to be developing awareness training for your company. So there's a whole list. You do 10 major projects, right? There's a whole list of projects that you're going to work on, and you're going to have that exposure to all these different types of projects, right? So even if you've done PCI, you can still jump on this because that is just going to broaden your horizon, right? So now you are a specialized security professional, but then you can also play in all other fields as well.
Yeah, the plan was to have, a PCI role, to be working in that role so I can continue taking other courses. But, with what I'm doing now, I can't afford to.
No, that's fine. So, I mean, like this is always ongoing. And if you've gone to an interview to the last stage, I think you're almost there, right?
Okay. One
you're
question.
Almost there. Yes, go ahead.
One question I think that I tend to stumble on is when they ask me, so what does a day-to-day look like for you? What specifically are they looking for when they ask that question in a PCI-related interview?
Okay, so to rephrase that question for you is, what projects have you worked on recently in PCI space?
Okay.
Right, because if they ask for your day-to-day, the mentality is, okay, walk me through projects that you've done, or on daily basis, like what do you do in terms of projects?
Okay.
Right, yes. So, and you've worked on too many PCI projects to have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, everyone. Any questions for the group? But before we go, like we always do, give some shout outs to so if you are joining us and you didn't let us know where you're joining us from, then we wouldn't be able to give you any shout out. And thank you everyone for your inputs in the chats in terms of the questions that we were asking. Yes, go ahead, please.
Doctor, this is Isaac.
Doctor, go ahead.
I want to talk to you after class.
Okay.
If you can have a time.
Yeah, so shoot me a text right after here. All right, so Bartholomew from joining us from Boston. We have Ajua from NJ, Sandra from NJ, Abna from Maryland. And then we have Michael from Vancouver, Canada, and Glenda from North Carolina. We have Kevin, Maryland. And then Ibrahim also from Jay-Z, Nicole, Atlanta, joining us from Atlanta, Alma from Jay-Z, Evans from Minnesota. We have Abby from New York, Texas, Felix, Texas. There's always a lot of Texas. Renee from VA. We have Ejiki. If I got your name wrong, please let me know, from Florida. And we have Shongo, VA. And the list goes, okay, Linaire, Florida. I didn't know Linaire was in Florida. Okay, Rita from San Antonio, Alfred, Virginia, Sale, Dallas, and some Atlanta also on there. Andy, Chicago. Okay, so I think if you didn't put yours in, or if you put yours and we skipped it, we still appreciate you joining us for tonight. So we are wrapping up for tonight. Next week, we're still going to be on for Cyber Chat. And for all our interns, we're still meeting tomorrow, usual times. And for everybody else, we appreciate your time. Hopefully, you were able to get something out of tonight's discussion and something for your toolbox. And we do this every Friday to help polish you up as a security professional and to always increase your knowledge base in the security space. We appreciate everybody's time. If there are no questions for the group, we will be wrapping up time now. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. And the WhatsApp group, the link has been posted already, so kindly check the chat. It's in the chat. The link if you want to make an appointment to talk to Dr. Edu, is also in there as well. And all other information is are also on there. So for all our free courses, they are also listed in there as well. So you can take a look at it. All right, everyone, have a great and wonderful weekend. We are going to meet same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Doc.